you know, Mandelson, Lord Peter Mandelson, a man who's rarely out of some sort of scandal. He's always in some kind of problems. They were unwisely given this job, ambassador to Washington, very important, our most crucial diplomatic role. And he gets sacked because he refused to resign. And apparently, what are we on? What is it now? 3 weeks, 4 weeks since he lost his job? He's still on the payroll, £174,000 a year. Apparently in line for a huge payoff because he wasn't actually, he didn't actually resign. He was sacked, so they have to compensate him. But as things stand, he's earning his full American ambassador's salary, £174,000 a year. That's us. That's our money. This is nonsense. This has got to stop, hasn't it? 0344 499 1000. But first, let's go over to our first guest for the first 60 sizzling minutes of tonight's show. She is, of course, Talk's excellent international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel.
Oh, good evening. Well, that Peter Mandelson story, it's all a bit kind of parallels with Hugh Edwards, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
It's just...
get fired or leave in disgrace and carry on being paid vast sums of money. What?
I know. Well, it's like, you know, we only learned, was it this time last week, was it, that Angela Rayner has still got her ministerial car. I'm not actually denying her the right to have protection, taxpayer-funded protection. She's a prominent politician. She deserves security, just as, for example, Nigel Farage does. That's the way of the world. But quite why we, the taxpayer, are funding her ministerial BMW, why she's still got that, I don't know. It's this kind of sort of lackadaisical approach to taxpayers' money. This government in particular, Labour, they just splash it out as if it doesn't matter. Well, it's our money, and I think we deserve an explanation as to why Peter Mandelson is still picking up his 174 grand a year. It's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. But if you don't mind first, Isabel, my producer, stroke ace reporter, Samara Gill, to her immense credit, on Saturday, went down to this school that's called the Cherry Lane Primary School. It's to the west of London, an area called West Drayton. It's kind of quite near Heathrow Airport. If you've ever driven up and down the M4, there's this huge Holiday Inn to the left of it if you're going west. It's massive. Everybody can picture it. Yeah. There's more than 600 rooms there. Many of them, not all of them apparently, but nearly all of them are occupied by asylum seekers, young men of military age, as we like to say. Well, what they do every day, many of them, hundreds of them sometimes, is they go underneath this walkway, underneath the M4, and that sort of comes out almost next to Cherry Lane Primary School, and there's a lot of green areas and park benches around the school, and they just plonk themselves down, and we got all this video of many of them walking down the streets escorted by special police officers, those special constabulary coppers, and you know, a couple of them actually sitting there smoking a sheesh pipe. We spoke to a parent, a mum, on Friday night. She's saying that she had 3 kids at this school, and they're terrified to go to school because she's seen them, and so have other parents reported, that these migrants, some of them, not all of them, let's be fair, you know, they're leering through holes in the fence. They're looking at the kids in the playground. The parents are extremely worried about this. It mirrors what we've been seeing in Epping with the Bell Hotel. The main worry of most of the parents there was that the Bell Hotel has a close proximity to local schools. This is the film that we were sent by parents. These are all the migrants walking down the street. Look how many of them. Police escort. They're making their way to the recreational area around the school, being escorted by coppers here. Now, this is them, and a couple of them hanging around in the gardens under the school. You're about now to see, there's one migrant. This is the bit that will, well, shall we say, it's eye-catching. Look at them. That's outside the school. They're sitting there smoking a sheesh pipe. So the point is, what I've got to stress is none of these, there have been no crimes committed here. No one is saying that these people, these migrants, are intent on committing crimes, have committed crimes, or will commit crimes. But the parents say that their kids are very intimidated by this. They're very worried. Some kids too scared to go to school. The parents are beside themselves with concern and worry about this, to the extent that they had this big demonstration on Saturday to protest about it. The school doesn't seem to respond at all. We've sent several messages to the school. We've heard pretty much nothing back. You know, and this is a situation that I think, well, I know, is going on all over the country. And that the proximity, the close proximity of asylum seeker hotels to schools, particularly primary schools, these kids, 640 kids there, aged 3 to 11 years old, really young kids. The proximity of asylum seeker hotels to schools like Cherry Lane Primary School, I think is causing great concern among many mums and dads, and I think we're going to hear a lot more of this going forward.
Well, it's hard to know quite where to begin with that footage. I mean, it's very decent of us not to show the faces of these people. There's nothing that prevents anyone taking pictures of anyone on public property, which those individuals were. We're just being very responsible broadcasters, not trying to bring any kind of vigilante behaviour on these individuals. And as you say, you know, what we've shown there is no crime. But what it is a whole use of police time and resources. You've got a police escort for a bunch of illegal immigrants to move from their hotel to go and hang out in a park en masse. I find that a bit unsettling in itself. You know, that links to, you know, how much freedom should illegal immigrants be given. My own view, and I think a lot of our listeners agree with this, is that actually they should be in detention centres. That's how they do it in other countries. You don't get to roam around, and you certainly don't get a police escort if you fancy a little walk in the park, or you fancy smoking some shisha on a park bench. Again, it's not illegal. You'll see it all up and down the Edgware Road in London and many other places besides, but it's not necessarily what we want in our public parks or just next to children's schools. And I think what parents are just very unsettled by and find very concerning is large groups of young men just hanging around, you know, very purposelessly. They've got nothing to do. They're whiling away the hours, and we all know the old expression, the devil makes work for idle hands. And if I had a child at that school, I too would be pretty uncomfortable about it. You know, we want our children to be able to walk home from school. We don't want them to have to run the gauntlet of mobs or even quiet groupings of young men from very different cultures who have just arrived and don't necessarily know what the norms are in our country. And we know that that is a problem because it keeps coming up in court cases.
And there's this sort of suspicion. We don't exactly know why the school has pretty much maintained a wall of silence, not just to us, but to parents who have complained and asked for something to be done. We don't quite know why they're maintaining this wall of silence, but the parents were saying, well, can you at least repair this fence around the playground where we see these guys leering through the playground at the little kids? They eventually got back a message from the school along the lines of, oh yes, well, we put out to tender, we're trying to find a contractor to come and do it, etc., etc. So one dad who we spoke to last week, James Timms was his name, his daughter no longer goes to that school but used to, he just went there and fixed it himself.
Yeah, come on.
So it's this sort of lack of response to the genuine concerns and fears of parents from this school, and I don't think this is the only school that's behaving like this, that I think is really worrying. You know, don't ignore these people. They've got a point that, you know, up in Epping, when the parents, particularly the Pink Ladies and all that, started protesting, all the liberality and the Guardianistas start saying they're racists, they're just racists and fascists and Nazis, that's who these protesters are. Well, guess what? They were protesting about an alleged sexual assault, two sexual assaults by a resident in the asylum seeker hotel. Racist! Rubbish! This is racism! asylum seeker, has now gone to jail for a year for sexually assaulting 2 women. It was actually a 14-year-old girl, which brings us back to the issue of proximity to schools. And then a poor local lady went to her assistance, tried to help her get out of the clutches of this awful man who was groping her. And the guy turned his attention on her and sexually assaulted her as well. So my point is, while the Guardianistas are all going, these people, these Essex people, they're just racist and fascist. No, they were right. They were absolutely right. And as I say, I've got to stress, there haven't been any crimes outside Cherry Lane Primary School. But you can understand why the parents are worried every day. Loads of them hanging around outside the school gates. And I think the school should talk to the parents, don't you?
I absolutely do. And there are schools that have circulated letters among parents, you know, acknowledging concerns. And, you know, what I would say about those Guardianistas is this is on them. You know, their absolute dogged refusal to contemplate that there might be something a lot bigger and darker going on here when it comes to people of criminal intent or criminal background, or people who are basically indebted to people smugglers and then have to come to our country. Once they get to our country, have to behave in certain ways in order to pay back their handlers. These Guardianista lefties have no idea what is actually going on here. They simply refuse to imagine that this is anything other than a lot of very good-hearted, decent, destitute people seeking a new life. And of course, there are some of those, without a doubt, there are some of those. But I'm afraid the type of people coming over are a hell of a mix. And not all of those people are people who have our best interests as UK nationals and young families and women at heart.
Absolutely. And just a footnote for you folks, get your notepads out, a little bit of facts for you. 369 small boat foreigners crossed the channel illegally on Saturday. And that takes the score this year to a phenomenal 36,734, which I believe is more than the entire total who crossed the channel last year. So Keir Starmer's tally is escalating rapidly and alarmingly. So that's 36,734 in illegally. But fair play, the one in, one out scheme, 42 have been returned to France under that scheme. That's really impressive, isn't it? Again, we've got to move on, Isabel, but briefly, can you see any point whatsoever in this extremely expensive, in my view, utter waste of time and money that is the one in, one out scheme?
I've never been able to see any point to it. I've always thought it was absolutely ridiculous. Anything that actually you kind of can't keep a straight face as you try to explain it to other people, it's not a policy that any government should be promoting.
It's absolutely right. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous and it's expensive.
Yeah.
We learned on Friday, by the way, did you read the story about how, we must move on, but I've got to get this in, how many Home Office civil servants are running the one in, one out scheme?
Well, it'll be a lot more than have left.
No, I'll tell you, it's 12. There are 12 civil servants running this scheme.
Oh,
it's
honestly,
just, it's farcical, Isabel. It's totally farcical. Let's go to break. When we come back, I want to talk about these MPs who've been campaigning to ban Jews from Aston Villa. Who are these people? Are they really just worried about football violence, football hooliganism, or are there other things on their mind? You know, I don't know. Anti-Semitic things, hating Israel. Is that really, is that what the sort of thing they're probably more worried about? I think it probably is. We'll talk about that next. Stay tuned. Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, I want to try to get to the bottom of exactly what's been going on in Birmingham. So we have the MP for Perry Bar, which encompasses Villa Park. His name is Ayoub Khan, who waged a furious, a passionate campaign to keep these Israeli fans of Maccabi Tel Aviv out of Birmingham, and indeed successfully persuaded the local authorities to ban them. Then we have another preacher, a guy called Asrar Rashid, a Birmingham preacher, who said that if they do come to Birmingham, no mercy must be shown to the Tel Aviv fans. Well, first of all, we'll play some of this in just a second. But so this guy Ayoub Khan got together this petition, which has succeeded in persuading the West Midland Police and the Birmingham Council Safety Advisory Board, whatever the hell that is, has persuaded them that these fans can't be allowed to come to Villa Park on November the 6th, where Aston Villa play Maccabi Tel Aviv in the Europa League. So Ayoub Khan's on the top of that petition. I mean, I've got my suspicions about what his motivations are. I'm sure you do too. But in fairness, he's a local MP. He can actually hide behind saying, I'm worried about the potential for football violence, for hooliganism in my constituency. Now, the other name on the top of that petition, I'd like to ask you why you think it's there. It is the independent MP for Islington North, Jeremy Corbyn, who, to the best of my knowledge, throughout his extremely lengthy career, has never once mentioned football hooliganism ever. What the hell is his name doing at the top of that petition?
Well, the other thing I'd like to see is who are all the people that have signed this petition. But unless you've got updated information for me, Kev, I spent a good deal of time on Friday trying to look for the names on the petition, and unusually they're not actually published. I thought it would have been very revealing to see what kind of surnames, what kind of Christian names, or probably not very Christian names, that we saw on that list. It would have told us a little bit about the demographic and the type of people that have been whipping up this campaign. As you say, it's not unreasonable, entirely, in fact, logical to anticipate, and it's probably right to anticipate that there could be some trouble if that match were to go ahead without any contingency plans. But this is the actual job of the police. And I was talking to Jeremy Kyle about this earlier today and pointing out that the Notting Hill Carnival doesn't get cancelled on the basis that there's trouble. There's always, multiple arrests at the Notting Hill Carnival and an actual track record of people being stabbed every year, pretty much. So why is that never cancelled on set?
Well, there's an even closer analogy you can make in terms of football. I mean, every weekend in the Premier League and the other leagues as well, there are matches that are definitely prone towards football violence. If you have Man United playing Man City, or Man United playing Liverpool, or Chelsea playing Arsenal, these are very tense situations. The police are used to dealing with it. You can't say, well, Arsenal are playing Chelsea at the Emirates this afternoon, but we've banned all Chelsea fans from coming. Now, what we're talking about here, the reason West Midland Police are so egregiously wrong, and I can't help wondering what their decision would have been if the away visiting fans were fans of Palestine United or Gaza Albion or something. I suspect the choice would have been different, but they misconstrue their job. So they say, can't guarantee people's safety on the streets. Well, get enough coppers to do that, because something is more important than safety on the streets here. It's the principle of freedom, of the right of these Israeli fans to pursue their human right to come and watch their football team play. And let's face it, they're getting banned because they're Jews, and the West Midland Police need to enshrine these Jewish fans' right to go and watch their team. Otherwise, this is state-sponsored anti-Semitism. This is an anti-Semitic decision, I believe, which is why the government's desperately trying to overturn it. I don't often wish this government well, but I do wish them well in this endeavour.
Well, I'm actually really surprised that this hasn't been overturned already. I mean, when you've been around politics for as long as I have, reporting on, the intersection of the media and the political ruling classes, you get a pretty good feel for when something's going to be a U-turn. And I was basically sure on Friday that the government would absolutely do whatever it took to make this, to turn over this decision, to get it reversed. When you've got the Prime Minister himself wading in, you've got a number of very senior and prominent figures wading in saying this is a wrong decision, you usually expect something to be reversed pretty quickly. And yet here we are, and it still stands. And the longer it still stands, the more that I do worry. I mean, I still think there's going to be some kind of compromise or fudge. But in a sense, the damage is already done. The damage to the Jewish community. And isn't this the most appalling kind of vote of no confidence by West Midlands police in their own ability to do the job?
Yeah, do your job. Do your job. Your job is to protect these fans' rights to go and see their football team. You can't turn around and say, well, they're Jewish and, there's always a lot of trouble everywhere they go. That is, to an extent, true. Not necessarily fair to blame the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. There's a lot of talk last year when they went to Amsterdam. Oh, look at the trouble they caused. They get set upon. They get set upon by pro-Palestine fanatics. That's what happens. That's what West Midland police are worried about in Aston, in the Aston Villa match. But I'm afraid this is where the police come into play, to protect and enshrine basic human rights. You can't turn around to Jewish fans and say, well, because you're Jewish, I'm afraid it's all a bit much for us, so you can't come. That is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Just going to play a few clips to try to set the tone for the picture I'm trying to paint. I don't trust all of these people talking about their fears for football hooliganism. I don't know where Jeremy Corbyn suddenly cropped up. Could it be that old guy never misses a chance to come down on the Jews? He's always there when anti-Semitism is happening, isn't he? Well, listen, this is Ayoub Khan, the MP for Perry Barr, the local MP. We'll just play. This is him celebrating the success of his campaign to ban Israelis from attending the match.
Well, excellent news for the people of Birmingham and, most importantly, the residents here in Aston. I launched a petition to oppose the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from coming to Birmingham and then into the Aston Villa Stadium. The surrounding ward of Aston is a ward that sits within my constituency. And I had many residents and businesses express concern of the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from coming into our area. Clearly, we have all witnessed the scenes in Amsterdam, the violence that was displayed by the fans the night before the match. We all watched and listened to those vile chants of hatred and racism. And so there's no space for that kind of behaviour here in Birmingham. There's certainly no space for that kind of conduct in Aston. So I'm very pleased that both the West Midlands Police and Aston Villa Football Club have now written to UEFA informing them of their decision not to allow any fans from entering Birmingham and Aston.
A little bit of casual demonisation of those Israeli football fans there by Mr. Khan. Really? Is that right? Is that what it is? Look, the trouble does travel with these fans, but it's because of pro-Palestine hooliganism. Everywhere they go, they get attacked. And I think they often stand up for themselves. But I don't trust what's going on in Birmingham here. This isn't a football fan issue. It really isn't. This is a Birmingham preacher, a mosque preacher. He was in Amsterdam a couple of weeks ago. This is Asra Rashid saying no mercy to the Maccabi Tel Aviv fans.
We safeguard the vulnerable from any type of exploitation. That is the character of a Muslim, who has a Muslim as a rahmah. Remember, rahmah is in its place. It's in its place. When the Tel Aviv fans come to Birmingham in a few weeks, we will not show them rahmah in Birmingham.
I think that means that they will not show them mercy. Thank you, Mr. Rashid. And finally, here's Jeremy Corbyn from a while ago on Hamas bringing peace to the Middle East.
And the idea that an organisation that is dedicated towards the good of the Palestinian people and bringing about long-term peace and social justice and political justice in the whole region should be labelled as a terrorist organisation by the British government is really a big, big historical mistake.
Yeah, and Jeremy, your entire life has been a big, big historical mistake. But what I'm saying here, Isabel, we've got to move on, but I smell the aroma of Jew hatred here, of anti-Semitism. All this stuff about, oh, football violence, oh, the businesses and locally they say we're so worried about it. It's so great that we've banned them. There's something else at play here, isn't there?
I think we all know exactly what's at play here. And, you know, what's happened to Birmingham, our so-called second city, is quite extraordinary. I mean, Birmingham is now, ethnic minorities are now the majority in Birmingham by a small but significant margin. And, you know, that community, well, I'm not sure there is a community as such. I mean, much of Birmingham, as Robert Jenrick was pointing out, pockets of Birmingham at any rate, are pretty unrecognisable as British. And that brings seismic cultural change and, I'm afraid, a lot of division. And as a result, what's happening is that many people, not of course all the good people of Birmingham, but there is a small but significant minority in Birmingham who seem to consider the impending arrival of these fans as if it's some kind of invasion of the enemy. And that is how they've approached it politically.
Yeah, and let me ask, give us a call on that, folks. Let me know what you think. I smell the vile aroma of anti-Semitism hanging over Birmingham with this decision. As I say, if it was Gaza Albion or Palestine United or something playing at Aston Villa, I suspect the game would go on, no problem at all. You'll notice we have a Muslim preacher there, Asra Rashid. We have the local Muslim MP, Ayoub Khan. There's another guy, one of these MPs. He's actually the MP for Blackburn and also Gaza. He's one of these independent Gaza MPs. His name's Adnan Hussein. He said, Israel is monstrous. This was his exact words. And those who disagree with him, he said, those who disagree, who say, I don't think Israel is monstrous, he says, Mr. Hussein says, that means we do not see Muslims as human. This is rancid stuff, isn't it? This is whipping up division. And I'm not sure who Mr. Hussein thinks he's representing, but I'm not sure that the people of Blackburn are quite so energised about hating Israel as he seems to be.
Well, I mean, this is a city that has another MP, Tahir Ali, who publicly campaigned for a new airport in Pakistan, using his platform as a parliamentarian of our country, publicly campaigning for extra airports in Pakistan to make the commute a little bit easier for his constituents. And that is how far gone, I suppose, Birmingham is. You know, it is not recognisable from what it was even 20 years ago. In a generation, it has completely changed. And it's worth pointing out that the demographic figures for Birmingham, which show ethnic minorities now the majority, date back to 2021. We've had wave after wave after wave of immigration since then. I suspect the next census will show an even starker picture.
And Handsworth, the area of Birmingham that Robert Jenrick visited and said in an hour and a half he didn't see another single white face. The demographics there are 96% of the local population are Muslim, Islamic. Only 4% are not. So, you know, make of that what you will. We'd better go to break, Isabel. When we come back, we want to talk about the very sad cancellation of a Poppy Day memorial. That next. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Still with Talks International editor Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, this is a sad story of our times, if you ask me. This is the local council in Hoyland. It's an area of Barnsley up there in South Yorkshire. They have the organisers of an annual Remembrance Day Poppy Day tradition that they have every Remembrance Sundays. What they do is they take 396 poppies and they put them around on the local lampposts, so that every single one of the town's fallen heroes is named on these poppy decorations on the lampposts. Well, this year, because Hoyland has joined so many councils in bizarrely deciding that anything on a lamppost or anywhere near a traffic sign must not be allowed, so they've used that technique to ban the hanging of Union Jacks and St George cross flags, you know, the Raising the Colours campaign. So they banned them, and they've had to say, well, since we've banned them, we have to ban the poppy displays as well. So now 396 fallen heroes in this town, each with poppies bearing their names. An annual tradition for this town's Armistice Day parade will now not happen. The members of the Hoyland Remembrance Parade Group say there's just not enough spaces for them to put all the poppies up. It wouldn't be fair of them to just some of the names, so they've had to abandon this patriotic annual tradition. How sad is that?
I mean, how absolutely pathetic, and, you know, how lacking in principle. There ought to be some things that are just unmovable, whatever the perceived challenges. You know, these sorts of gestures are so important in communities. I'm thinking of my own village in the Cotswolds, where every year there's the most amazing effort made to make these commemorations, and local people knit these beautiful kind of crocheted red poppies, and they're strung all along the railings, and these are public railings, you know, and there's a huge effort in the churchyard as well. And I feel that stuff is very binding for communities, and, you know, you really lose something from the heart of things if, you know, the authorities are saying, actually, you know what, we're just going to rip that bit out of your annual tradition because it might cause some trouble. You know, it's something so much bigger than just that day and that occasion and those names that are on the poppies. It's something about, you know, history and tradition and things that the whole community can share. And if they don't like it, they don't need to be looking at it or, you know, being very actively participant in it. But in a sense, this is just hollowing out who we are. And it's quite a subtle thing as well as being a very simple thing. You know, what is being eroded here over and over again, this erosion of our culture. And it's awful for people. I feel particularly for elderly people who pin a lot, I think, and understandably so, on these types of occasions in the calendar, and suddenly it's just being kind of just erased.
Yeah. I mean, I just think this council, I don't care what the decision they've taken about flags, strikes me that's wrong as well. It's just ridiculous. Oh, we can't have a flag anywhere near a road sign. Really? But that seems to be the decision lots of local authorities are taking. But I think what this council, Hoyland Council, should say is, well, never mind the flags. Of course you can put your poppies up. Of course you can. But no, they won't have that. You know, sort of computer says no kind of syndrome, isn't it? But very, very sad and very, very wrong, I would say. Let me know what you think, folks. 03444991000. When we come back, Isabel, I'm afraid that time has come. We are going to have to talk about the former Duke of York, Mr. Andrew Windsor. I don't think he should be allowed to be called Prince anymore as well. I want a hard line action on this. We'll talk about this after the break. Welcome back. Let's still with Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Isabel, the Prince, or Prince Andrew, is still allowed to call himself that. He's a proven liar. He lied. He said to Emily Maitlis, I've cut off all contact with Jeffrey Epstein. We found out last weekend that was a terrible lie. He was still saying to Jeff, keep in close contact, we'll play again soon, so on and so forth. So he's a liar. So whether or not people choose to believe his denials that he sexually abused and defiled 17-year-old Virginia Roberts, as she was then, on 3 different continents. Whether or not people choose to believe that, that is their affair. For me, I, for one, don't believe him. Why else would he have given that poor young woman for £12 million, $15 million, not to go to court, civil court in America? That poor woman at the age of 41 went on to kill herself. You've got to think about that. She committed suicide. Her life ruined by powerful men like Epstein and, frankly, like Prince Andrew. Although he says, despite a picture of him with his arm around her, he's never met her. Really, really. If you believe that, I've got some swampland to sell you in Florida. Now, let's move on, though. He's agreed to give up his Duke of York title. His other titles are the Earl of Inverness, and also he's something called Baron Kililea in Northern Ireland as well. He's had to give up all those titles. The thing is, though, he hasn't really. He's just had to say, I won't use them anymore. He still is officially the Duke of York. The King says he doesn't. We can only get rid of that title, those titles, by an Act of Parliament. The King says, oh, I don't want to waste Parliament's time. You know, it's, I kind of get that, but I think it's actually important. I think it's important that we do this. This will be an act of the people to tell these royals, you actually do what we say. You adhere to the behaviour and the morality that we demand of you, that we request of you. Otherwise, we will make you accountable. So I think this Act of Parliament that the King says, oh, I don't want to bother Parliament with that. I think it should go through so that the royal family, Prince Andrew, understands the meaning of the word accountability. You reap what you sow. And the people across the country get a concept that if you do bad things, you will pay the price. Accountability. By saying, oh, let's not bother, just get him to agree not to call himself that anymore, doesn't mean to say he isn't the Duke of York. I think we should do it. I really do think it should go through Parliament.
Yes, it's a sort of funny debate, this one. I mean, I would like to know how quick that would be, that process, and whether there really would have to be endless debate. I mean, perhaps it could be done in no time at all. I mean, which parliamentarian is going to stick up for Prince Andrew? You know, it's not going to be a good look, is it? So I suspect that the debate would be pretty speedy. And this is just about primarily about resources on, I don't know, drafting the relevant legislation that would be required. I do feel incredibly sorry for the King on this one. You know, I'm not any kind of strident monarchist, but, you know, this is a guy that has waited all this time to take over from his beloved mother, and then he's struck down. He's really not very well. You know, he's bravely pushing on, doing as much public service as he can, and he's just got this endless kind of millstone round his neck. In fact, 2 of them. One is the Prince Andrew thing, and the other is his younger son.
Harry as well is a problem as well.
All he wants to be able to do is just kind of crack on with the job and try to keep as well as he can. And instead, he's just endlessly dealing with Duke of York related scandal. Well,
we learned over the weekend, Isabel, that characteristically, Prince Andrew apparently dug his heels in and wouldn't resign, wouldn't give these positions up until the King said, well, if you don't do it, I'll take it to Parliament. Yeah. So he finally reluctantly did fall on his sword, as they say. But I think I think it should go further. I mean, I think there's a lot of MPs saying, well, why is this guy still allowed to call himself Prince? They say, oh, well, it's because he's the mother. Never mind that. Never mind that. To be called Prince Andrew is to be given a name of respect. Prince Andrew demands respect. This guy does not deserve anyone's respect. I say take Prince away from him. I say take this issue through Parliament, pass an act in Parliament saying he is no longer the Duke of York. Otherwise, technically, he still is. The problem with the King is, you know, I've got a lot of time for him and all that, but he's a pretty weak man. He doesn't like confrontation. He should have acted earlier on Andrew, but he didn't. And now I think he needs to act tougher than he has so far.
Well, on a human level too, Kev, I mean, it is his brother. I mean, this stuff isn't easy at all.
It would be if it was my brother. I mean, come on, this guy has crossed the line, crossed the line, crossed the line. He's a disgusting, lying individual, and we all know it. And the embarrassment is going to get really, really bad come tomorrow when Virginia Giuffre's post-death biography is published. It's going to be very embarrassing.